Good afternoon, everyone, or actually good morning if you're in the US like Christian is, I suppose. I'm Karen Doyle, Operations Director of CTAM Europe. Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm happy to introduce you to today's presenter, Christian Kurz, SVP Global Streaming Research and Insights at Paramount. Christian is based in New York and today will be presenting on exploring the rapid growth of FAST TV. We're scheduled for 30 minutes, which includes time for a Q&A session at the end. So please do get involved and post your questions by using the Q&A button. Christian will answer them at the end. As always, the recording of this presentation will be posted onto the members only section of ctameurope.com. If you're not a current member, please email info@ctameurope.com for more details. Members have access to a monthly webinar, our live annual symposium and networking events, and also webinars and podcasts from our colleagues across the pond at CTAM US. I'll also follow up by email to you this week about our annual executive management program, which we will be holding at INSEAD again next year. Christian and Paramount will receive the registration list for today's webinar and may follow up with their own news separately. So thank you for joining in. I will turn myself off screen now and hand you over to Christian. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christian Kurz, and I head up our streaming research and insights for Paramount as a company. Now, for the two of you who may not fully know Paramount, we have changed our name recently. We used to be Viacom, we used to be CBS, we used to be Viacom, CBS, we are now Paramount. And that means we are covering free-to-air all the way from CBS, Network 10 in Australia, Channel 5 in the UK, Telefe and Chilevisión, through our cable properties from Nickelodeon, through MTV, Comedy Central, all the way, of course, to feature films with Paramount Pictures, and now our two main streaming services in Paramount Plus, the SVOD service, and Pluto TV, our fast, free streaming service. I'm speaking to you today with a Pluto perspective, and really all about FAST. We've done some research around why consumers are clinging on to this FAST concept. FAST, of course, standing for free ad-supported streaming television. And what I'm trying to go through today is why it is growing so rapidly, and of course, what the benefits are both to the consumers and a little bit to the advertiser as well. But before that, I'm gonna need to get my slides to work. There you go. I start with a quote from our president, Bob Bakish, which really is something that we're taking at heart at Paramount, is that for us, research truly is the foundation of everything we do. It does inform our strategies, it informs our content, our creative, and of course, our products and our streaming products. And Pluto, at the time when it launched in the US, was a very contrarian product, right? It was linear at a time of everything being on demand. It was ad-supported at a time of everything being ad-free. And what we're seeing is that FAST has really grown to be one of consumers' favorites. Watching TV addresses multiple consumer needs in a given day for consumers. And what we're trying to explore in this study is what those various needs are, and what is the connection between those needs to the various distribution platforms, specifically, of course, focusing in on FAST. At the end, uncovering how consumers or why consumers are embracing this unique platform, what makes FAST services different, and then also a little bit about the benefits around advertising. We did this in a two-pronged research approach, one through a quant survey in a number of our key markets among 18 to 64-year-olds, with a total sample of 5,000 people. But really what we did is we collected a number of viewing occasions among those 5,000 people, really getting to over 12,000 individual viewing occasions, which we then analyzed to come up with this classification that I'm going to be sharing with you now. We then also followed up with some deep dive interviews with a number of FAST service users. And I will play a quick video from some of them later on, really where they explain their own personal attitude and usage of these services. So through all of this, we identified a number of need states. And there's a whole lot of different things that consumers use television for, and I'm using television as the very broad term. So anything you could consider television, I mean, that's from de-stressing to re-energizing to exploring and learning to keep up to speed. There's a variety of things that consumers use television for. If you look at that in a bit more detail, really it comes down to these 8 different need states that consumers are engaging with. It's about comfort. So when I'm looking for me time to de-stress, and I do that through familiar content. I can look for uplift, which is all about refreshing and revitalizing and brightening my mood. And of course, I can do that with certain content. Immersion, which is really all about that feeling of climbing into the TV and blocking out the rest of the world when you're really, really engrossed with that content. External connection is really 2 things. On the one hand, that is staying up with the rest of the world, which is news and sports and anything that happens live and at the same time. But it also means watching the same things as other people at the same time, even if it's not actually live. And that includes, of course, shiny floor, entertainment type shows, as well as a whole bunch of other things. So this is about getting up to speed and staying in the conversation. Then we have routine, which is just the habit that people have developed. Then we have explore, which is all about broadening the horizons, which is either exploring or trying something new in terms of content. Togetherness, this is where who is in front of the screen with you is more important than what's actually on the screen. And that's a very specific need state too. And then lastly, of course, we have the distraction with a little ambiance and background noise consumption. We have sized all of these across all the markets that we did quant research in, and those numbers at the bottom are the sizes of those various different need states. The important thing to remember is that consumers go through multiples of those within a 24-hour period. So I may have, I don't know, the need for uplift when I come home from work, and then I get into my routine, and at the end, I need a bit of distraction and background noise before I go to sleep. All of this can happen within a few hours of each other. So what we've tried to do is understand where and how the focus is for consumers around this, and those are ordered in the size overall. But not just size matters, particularly in this one. Really, it's about, okay, what do I do and where and how do I use these? So for comfort, this is including a bunch of variety of content, the multiple locations, including, of course, the bedroom, but I tend to watch this on my own. That is much more common. And you contrast that to the togetherness, which is, of course, content, including family movies. It tends to be the big screen in the living room, and it tends to be family viewing, right? So those are 2 contrasting states. You can read the rest of them, but really it is important to notice that various things deliver against various different need states. And of course, we also then looked at the services that and the platforms that deliver against various need states, and really trying to understand what fuels that fast, I don't know, revolution, that's a big word. Fast has been in the press all over the place quite a lot, and it is really a free ad-supported linear-ish streaming experience or linear streaming experience, and consumers are turning to that. So what we wanted to understand now is fast delivers against which of these 8 need states, and how does that compare to other platforms? This is just a starting point. Bear with me while I explain this. So on the left, of course, we have the 8 need states. Across the top, we have the 4 different distribution methods that we're comparing here. One being fast, the second one being SVOD, primarily without ads, because at the time that was all that SVOD was. Linear TV, which is really broadcast and cable combined. And then the last thing is free on-demand services, excluding fast. So those are the services that are more AVOD or BVOD. Those are in that last category there. And then the numbers that I'm showing are indices. So it's not an actual percentage or anything. And the number itself matters relatively little. What's important is the contrast between the platforms on which ones are delivering from a consumer perspective against various things. The way we did this is we asked consumers, of course, about their viewing sessions, those 12,000 and a few. What was your intention? Where did you go? What did you do? And we then grouped that together, both by the platform and by the need states. And what comes out is that fast services deliver very, very well against the need for uplift, against the need for the external connection, exploration, and distraction. Now, the indices for fast are near 100 for all of them, but those four are really the ones where fast uniquely delivers and fulfills the need of uplift, explore, and distract. You augment that with the SVOD services, which are really, really strong on the immersion. So this whole climbing into the TV, really immersing yourself there. And they're also very strong on togetherness, which is this whole sitting in front of the TV together to watch something. And you start seeing where the streaming worlds are really complementary to each other rather than competing. Now, linear, not surprisingly, delivers incredibly well on both routine and on the external connection, because those are really need states that are made for that platform. And then the AVOD services are also delivering on the external connection, largely driven by the fact that most of those free streaming services are catch-up services, or the most consumption of that in a number of international markets is the BVOD catch-up idea. So this is how the services complement each other. And if you look across all of this, you then see that in order for the consumer to satisfy all of their needs, they really build a portfolio of services that they go to and that they look through in various ways. With that, I'm going to start playing a quick video now, and then I'll come back with some more numbers on how consumers talk about all of this stuff.
Alexa, open Pluto.
Free ad-supported streaming television, usually known as fast services, are addressing viewers' needs in a unique way, which is fueling their explosive growth and popularity. Viewers are hooked on fast services because whatever their mood or whatever their interest, they can always find great high-quality content that really delivers.
Watching TV on these streaming services is unique compared to other platforms because there's better range of content. It's kid-friendly, it's adult-friendly.
Os pontos positivos, eu acho que é a diversificação de conteúdos, né? Eles têm diversos conteúdos aí e, é infinito.
Me hace sentir única, personalizada.
Fast service users appreciate them for being easy to navigate and, of course, for being free.
Pluto TV pues es algo que está a tu mano, que lo tienes gratuito, que es disponible, que lo puedes llevar a donde quieras.
Fast services deliver comfort and relaxation.
I work home alone, so a lot of times at lunch I have a show that I'm watching during the week.
Unlike many other services, fast services feel less overwhelming to viewers, making decisions about what to watch a low-stress experience.
Hay tanto para ver que al final uno no ve nada y se la pasa nada más viendo el catálogo. Pero con esto simplemente pones un canal, encuentras lo que está pasando y pues es más fácil que te enganches porque es la experiencia de la televisión actual, ¿no? Más moderna, digital.
Using fast services gives viewers a break from the day-to-day, a reward, an uplifting moment to reset and recharge themselves.
It just kind of makes me feel a little rewarded for all the hard work that I put into it.
Y suelo verlas luego para desestresarme.
Pause zu machen, sich berieseln zu lassen.
Fast services allow viewers an easy opportunity to explore, learn, or experience something new.
Kolla på TV och en snabb streamingtjänst får mig att känna mig uppdaterad.
Fast service users welcome advertising as part of their viewing experience.
The advertising is kind of shorter, sharp, punchy, less intrusive.
Fast services offers users easy decisions about what to watch, a sense of uplift at the end of a long day, and an opportunity to explore from the comfort of home, which is why more consumers each day are adding fast services to their TV portfolios.
Och att se på TV på snabb streamingtjänst får mig att känna mig glad faktiskt för att jag lever år 2022 och har tillgång till liksom ett så pass stort urval som jag har, vilket ju absolut har gjort mig bortskämd liksom.
All right, so that was consumers. We're about halfway through, so feel free to start putting questions into the Q&A. As you heard there, fast services really give consumers that option of taking a break, a reward, a chance to reset and recharge. And this is how consumers are thinking about it. There are very strong agreement statements for FAST in general, and even stronger for Pluto on all of these. But it's really about having a good time, escaping everyday life, calming down, disconnecting, letting go, as well as regrouping, gathering energy and my thoughts, and come back feeling better, right? It's both of those accompanying feelings, emotions that FAST delivers so well on for consumers. Throughout the day, the FAST services really act as that companion. It's like a friend. It keeps me going, helps me to de-stress, take time for myself, and something that I enjoy, as Valeria from Spain is talking about here. So we're seeing very, very strong agreements in these various statements. And there is also always something to watch on FAST services, no matter how the user is feeling. And of course, on Pluto TV, we have an exorbitant number of channels, many of them partnering with many of you from a content perspective. And as a portfolio of content, that delivers a great optionality to our audiences and to our consumers on being able to find something that just speaks to your mood in these various ways. So whatever the mood of the audience, there's always something to watch on FAST. Most users are actually positively surprised at the quantity and the quality of the content that is available through FAST services. And obviously we need to do a better job at shouting about that so that they are less surprised and are actually coming to expect that quality and quantity, because the content is great and it is familiar to consumers largely, which is one of the reasons it makes using these services so easy. And easy is another point I'll come back to later on. FAST services really can satisfy their interest, no matter how niche they may be. It is a good place to find anything that you're into in various ways, and consumers are into a lot of things. On a typical occasion, they're watching just over 3 different types of genres. And they're watching a lot more genres within the FAST services than they are watching outside on the other sources, where it's one less, one fewer. It is more narrow in scope, while FAST is really that broad consumption across all sorts of things. And it feels very easy to use for consumers. So it's just an ongoing discovery process, and it is very, very simple. Again, something I'll come back to later in the summary, but consumers don't stress over what to watch. They always find something. They love that it's just on. And of course, it is very easy to find things. And EPG, unfortunately or fortunately, is a proven tool to get consumers to discover content in a relatively quick and easy way. That combination of on-demand and live TV that we certainly have in Pluto is something that is very, very popular with users. We're going in with a fast linear experience, and then if that isn't exactly what you're in the mood for, then you can go over to the on-demand section and find something else there. So all of this together means that the FAST services obviously present an exciting opportunity for consumers, but that also means that they're presenting an exciting opportunity for advertisers. And FAST users absolutely see ads as a worthy trade-off for a free and valuable service. And 3/4 are happy with the ad load for that trade-off. So consumers are very aware that they are giving up some of their time in order to get this content, and they're happy with that trade-off. Now, ads on Pluto then are seen as better quality and more relevant and interesting than a whole bunch of other services. And that is really, really important to us. It's important to us to keep the user experience very engaging and very good. And that is also why we're placing all sorts of caveats and restrictions on our various ad partners on how we want to fill that, so that the experience remains a good one for consumers. So the key takeaways are, what is fueling the FAST service? Well, they're very, very simple and simple to use, and they take the stress out of deciding what to watch. They can absolutely give consumers a sense of uplift. There's the opportunity to explore, and it also, of course, ultimately addresses viewers' needs in a relatively unique way that complements the other services. So this is really about building a portfolio of consumption. Fast services also provide that exciting opportunity and relatively new opportunity for advertisers to reach consumers and for consumers to reach them in a different environment where they are highly receptive to that advertising. So fast is free, easy, and there's simply nothing else like it. So of course, fast is growing very rapidly. The way we often summarize Pluto is that it is easy it's free, yes, but it's also easy in 3 different ways. It is just on, there is no registration. You go in and it starts playing. It is then easy to use because it has a very familiar EPG interface that you can make your selection very, very quickly. You don't need to spend 20 minutes to figure out what you want to watch. And then it's easy again on the 3rd level from a content perspective, because it is familiar content that allows you to engage with that content relatively quickly. It's not really challenging. So it is that easy experience that makes all of this great for consumers. So with that, thank you very much. You have both my email and our overall email address on here on the screen if you have any follow-up questions after I answer the questions that you've put in the chat, in the Q&A section. So I will go there now. What do we know about the demos of fast users? Are they younger, non-pay TV households? It's a mix of both. So what we are seeing is actually that the fast user or the Pluto users are a very good representation of the average population in any one country. They are just as likely to have SVOD as anyone else. And they're just using this to augment their overall behavior. If anything, we're seeing that fast users tend to be a little bit older than SVOD users, but it's in the margins, simply because the environment really and the content lend themselves to people who are familiar with some of those types of things. So it is an augment. It is not a replacement for pay TV in any way, shape, or form. People truly consume both in various ways. All right. Similar questions. Do fast users watch CapSat linear channels or are they cord cutters? They really are not just, I mean, yes, there's cord cutters in there, but fast is not a replacement for regular linear TV. People do use both in various different ways. Are there any particular subgenres in terms of non-scripted content that tend to perform better than others? I'm actually not that close to the detail of the overall consumption, but overall, all of the content is doing really, really well, largely because what the fast services are attracting is either broad audiences for broad shows or niche audiences for niche shows and channels. I mean, there's the World Poker Tournament channel, which is presumably a relatively niche audience that does incredibly well. We, of course, have, from a non-scripted perspective, a lot of the home and garden lifestyle type content on there, and it is performing very well, just as is CSI and NCIS and kids content doing incredibly well. So it truly is a replication of around all of these things. What is unique in the advertising model? I mean, it's 100% targetable because that is what you know, of course, which makes it slightly different. And that makes it a pure digital play. So I don't know how to answer that question, but I'll ask it myself anyway. It's true that everyone's talking about fast, but is it profitable given the relatively small advertising markets in Europe? Pluto TV is profitable, but of course, Pluto TV is huge in the US. I would assume that the rest of the advertising markets are going to follow that. And we are really looking to work with many of our partners to make that happen, hopefully also with the ad market recovering at some point in the near future. And then the last questions on here. There's more. What's the ad load? It is actually not that different from a regular linear thing. In the US, I think our total non-programming time is 8 minutes in the hour. But that does vary by country because A, regulation, but B, we also play around with it a little bit. And on the option of registration for better targeting, that is an option in the US. It is not currently in any of our international markets, but that is something we are actively exploring. All right, that was the questions. Karen, anything from you?
No, and that was a very good Q&A session, and I do enjoy a good Q&A session. So thank you. Thanks, Christian. It was fascinating as always. I always like your reports, your findings, your research, everything. Thank you very much. And if anybody has any further questions, Christian's email address is, it's just gone off, but
it's no longer on the screen, sorry.
Right there. And you can email Christian directly, or you can email info@ctameurope.com. If you wish to view the presentation again, it will be uploaded on the members only section of ctameurope.com, alongside all the past webinars and podcasts and everything that you might want to check out in your downtime. So thanks again, Christian. It was brilliant. Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, and see you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.